And thanks for joining us for the TicketForce webinar on how to build a successful email marketing campaign for events. Today we're going to be talking specifically about building an email campaign to promote and sell tickets to events. So if you're joining us from a venue or you're an event promoter, we hope that you'll leave this webinar with either some validation that you're already writing emails that will be successful, or some tips and tricks that will help you improve your current strategy. And even if you're not in charge of marketing for your venue, maybe you come from the box office or you work as a manager or director in a different department, I think it's really important for everyone to be familiar with the marketing strategy at their business. And I hope you'll find something here that you can relate to in your own department. As Amy said, I'm Whitney Smith, the marketing coordinator here at TicketForce, and I'll be walking you through our webinar here today. So let's jump right in. Today we're going to cover all the basic components of a good email campaign. We'll talk about creating a schedule for your emails and some tips for which days receive the most clicks and opens. Then we'll go over crafting a subject line for some different email campaigns so you can grab the attention of your patron and get them to actually open your email. Next we'll cover how to know what tone and length of your email should be. And that's going to depend, of course, on the type of email you're sending and also a bit on how you want to be viewed as a brand. So we'll also talk about what I think is a really important aspect of email campaigns, making sure they're mobile friendly and that your links are easy to click. And as part of this, we'll also go over what your site should look like, your ticketing site, if you want your patrons to be able to move immediately from the email to the purchase process, and some hiccups they might encounter along the way. We're also going to spend some time covering different ideas for emails, from newsletters to promotions and cross-promotions, and some basic tips to go along with that. And we'll end our webinar with a look at how to track your email and analyze it for what's working and what's not, followed by a Q&A session for any questions that you may have that arise during the webinar. And as Amy said, just go ahead and you can type those in at any time, and then we'll cover those at the end. So coming up with a schedule of when you want to send emails is an essential part of email marketing. You should be drafting your calendar based on your events, paying careful attention to when they go on sale, if you're offering a pre-sale to members or by promo code, how often you want to send them out. Maybe you want to send out an email on the day before a pre-sale starts, notifying patrons so they don't forget, but you also want to send a cross-marketing email a week after the event ends because you have a similar event coming up that this group of patrons might enjoy. Different tactics are going to work differently for groups of patrons. So the best thing to do is look back at analytics of emails you've sent in the past to see which ones performed the best. Did you get the most ticket sales when you sent an email a month before a show or a week? Just find out what works and repeat that strategy when marketing for future events. If you haven't been in the habit of sending out regular emails to your patrons, now could be the time to do some testing. Just try to keep as many of your variables the same and only change one so you can see what triggered a better response. This is a great way to use A/B testing, which most email marketing software allows, like iContact, MailChimp, Constant Contact. Most services are going to let you create an A/B campaign very easily, testing different subject lines. But you can also get creative with testing on your own by splitting your targeted group of patrons and sending them the same email with different variables, be it the time of day, the day of the week, or the length of time before an event. So since we touched on what day to send, keep in mind this marketing know-how. The most successful email campaigns are sent between Tuesday and Thursday, with most people opening more emails on Wednesday and Thursday. All right, moving on. So make sure you have your comprehensive campaign planned before your tickets go on sale. This could look something like the following. We're just going to go through an example. It could be the same plan for venues that are going to have different on-sale dates for every event, or maybe you have one on-sale date for your entire season. And just remember that this is just a guide, and you should consider the timeline that works best for your patrons and your events. So in our example here, an example for a show that has a pre-sale, let's say. So 2 to 3 weeks before your season or event goes on sale, maybe you send an email to patrons with your upcoming show or schedule and the date that they're going to go on sale. And then maybe the day of the sale, you send an email to patrons with an invitation to buy in the email body and a clear buy now or buy tickets button that's going to take them directly to the point of sale. And maybe you have it set up automatically to send them a confirmation email as soon as they purchase, confirming the sale and the event date and time. Then maybe 3 to 7 days before your event, you send them a reminder that the event is taking place and that they've purchased tickets, because maybe they purchased these tickets weeks or months in advance, especially if you only have one on sale date. And then we're going to use that 24-hour magic period to send a thank you to your patrons for attending. Here's where you'd want to link to any photos or social hashtags that you've associated with the event. And you can also use this as a way to provide them with a discount to another show, if that's what a promo code your venue wants to set up, or letting them know what other events you have coming up. And this 24-hour window is prime time for you to make those ticket buyers loyal patrons, so just use it well. And again, this is just an example of a schedule you could create to maintain communication with your patrons, not just at the event, but really throughout the entire purchase process, before, during, and after the event. A lot of people consider the subject line to be the most important part of the email. And that's because probably 50% of your patrons will read no more than the subject line, as with any email. Your subject line is what draws someone to open your email. It needs to be straightforward but catchy, and your offer or value to them should be clear. So another thing to keep in mind when crafting your subject line is how often your patrons will be receiving your email on a mobile device. 50% of emails are now read on mobile devices. You probably get all your email on your phone. I know I do. And even with iPhone 6 Pluses and these other really large screen phones, the space you have to create an impactful subject line is a lot smaller than it is on a desktop or laptop. Depending on which device your patron is using, they're going to see anywhere from 30 to 75 characters, not words, of your subject line. And some phones like Android will allow 2 lines for a subject, whereas an iPhone is only going to show 1 and use the second line for the preview text or the pre-header. So keep in mind that if your subject line is long, your preview text may not show at all. So the most important information should really be listed first. So I invite you to just do a quick scan of your personal email inbox and just notice which lines caught your attention, which subject lines, which ones you opened and which you clicked. Would you have ignored the email about an upcoming event if it wasn't listed explicitly in the subject line? Did you open emails with subject lines that were more ambiguous, like your exclusive offer inside? Or maybe you prefer emails that are more specific with their subject line, like 50% off today. So unfortunately, there's no one-size-fits-all subject line, but this is actually a good thing. We really want to keep our subject lines fresh, with the most important information first, like just announced, last chance to buy, pre-sale today, or the name of the performer or event, with the details following. If you say monthly newsletter every time you send it, your patrons might lose interest reading it. So the tone and length of your email is really going to depend on what type of email you're sending, and that might be different for all of you. So today we're just going to focus on what the tone should be for different types of emails that are all built particularly to encourage patrons to buy tickets right then. So a lot of you probably regularly use promotion or discount codes. Maybe you have a membership group or a pre-sale group that's going to receive an email with an invitation to buy tickets before they go on a general sale. So an email that's written with this goal should be creating a sense of urgency in the buyer. You don't want them to open this email, think about buying, and then push it off for another time. Maybe they're going to forget, or maybe they'll never complete the purchase at all. So here's where you really need copy that's going to create that sense of urgency. Maybe you use words like only 2 days or only blank days or hours to purchase or today only to try and really get them to make that purchase immediately instead of putting it off. Even phrases like purchase the best seats before they sell out or purchase now before the general sale on Friday can be really effective. Anything that's going to make them open your email right then and move directly to the buying process. So in this scenario, because we want them to move to that buying process, you really want to make that move as easy as possible. Instead of clicking 5 links to get to the page where they buy tickets, you want it to be immediately. So we suggest using a Buy Now or Buy Tickets button that's large and in the first half of the body, rather than a small link that's hard to click on a mobile device. And another key aspect of encouraging the purchase process is to make sure that your ticketing site is responsive design. And if you're wondering why that's really important, I'm going to tell you a little story to illustrate. So I have a friend who attends a lot of concerts in Los Angeles, and she's in a band herself. So she signs up for email lists of all her favorite artists, so she'll know exactly when the tickets will go on sale, and if she can sign up for a pre-sale. And she also doesn't own a laptop. She only owns an iPad and an iPhone, I know, that she carries with her all the time. No laptop. So one day we were at the beach, and she received one of these emails inviting her to purchase tickets for a show. She clicked the link and began moving through the purchase process. And at the same time, she had friends who were also planning on going to the concert, and they're texting her, telling her exactly what seats they'd purchased so she could purchase tickets in the same section. So she began trying to purchase her own ticket, but armed only with her phone, she quickly became frustrated with the website's inability to allow her to choose her own seat. After a few minutes of this frustration, she just gave up the purchase completely. Now, did she go home and purchase tickets on another device, maybe her iPad? Maybe. But what if she didn't? That venue just lost a buyer because their patron wasn't able to easily complete the purchase process through the email. So this is why responsive design is so important. Responsive design ensures that every element on your site is rearranged and resized to be easily accessible from any device. And this means that your patron can complete their purchase process with no loss of functionality. In fact, they have access to all the same features as the patron on a desktop or laptop. They can select seats with a seat map that's mobile friendly, select a subscription package, make a donation, and enter their payment information, all with the same functionality as the desktop user. So what does that mean for you and for your venue or event? It means that patrons will purchase tickets as soon as they receive the email, and you'll have one more seat sold instead of risking losing that sale as the patron becomes frustrated. And you may not think this is important, so I'll say it again. 50% of your emails are being opened on mobile devices. So that means if you design your email or your ticketing site to be viewed only from a desktop or laptop, you're risking losing 50% of your patrons' attention at some point in that purchase process. So since we got onto the subject of making an email mobile friendly, I just want to move on to what aspects of the design you should be changing to make it mobile. So fortunately, third-party email providers are making this process really easy for us. They often provide a mobile preview so you can see what your email will look like on a mobile device. And they might not offer a preview of your email on different phones. I know that, for example, iContact only shows a generic, quote-unquote, mobile preview. So keep in mind that your email may not look the same on an iPhone as it does on an Android or Windows phone. But if you have a more extensive preview functionality, our CRM, I know, will actually open up a preview of practically every email provider, web provider, and mobile provider. So you can see what the email looks like. Then this is a really great way to make sure your design works on multiple devices. If not, you may have to go the old school route of just sending some test emails around the office until you come up with a design that works, for the most part, on any mobile device. So there's actually a few tricks that we use that'll help make your email mobile friendly. The first is using finger-friendly links. And this is where a large button is really going to trump a small text link. You don't ever want your patron to have to pinch zoom on a mobile email. Buttons are also 30% more likely to be clicked than a text link. So you want to make your links buttons and your logo a link to your venue homepage. Some email providers will even let you make a button that links to a phone number so that when your mobile patrons click the, say, Call Us button, their phone will automatically call the number you've entered. And we found that this is a really great solution for older patrons who might use their mobile phone to open emails but still want to complete their purchase through your call center or box office. Again, we're just trying to make the purchase process as easy as possible from the email itself. So another trick is to use only single or double column designs. If you have no way of testing how your email looks on mobile, or you don't want to take that extra step, a single column design will make sure that your email format's exactly the same on a mobile device. And this is because there won't be any opportunity for the format to be skewed. If you're able to test your design on mobile, just pay attention to how columns rearrange when viewed on different devices. Usually columns are going to arrange with the rightmost columns moving below the leftmost columns. So you'll know to keep your most important information on the left side of your email and less important information to the right where it's going to jump down. And you'll also notice how pictures shift for mobile. You may have pictures to the left or right of your text that jump to the top or bottom of the text when rearranged for mobile. So basically, we just want to make sure that your design and copy is still coherent when these aspects rearrange. And really my advice is just that just keep testing until you find something that works. Because there's really no use spending time and energy creating an email that's going to look beautiful on a desktop, but that becomes skewed when viewed from those 50% of users that are going to open it on a mobile device. And then finally, pretty simple one, just make sure you don't use too small of a font. As a rule, I generally keep all of our fonts at a size 12 or higher, with the most important information in size 14. And your email provider might resize your fonts for you when it's being viewed on mobile. So just make sure you view that mobile preview or send yourself a test to see if this is happening before you take the trouble to resize your email. So let's take a look at a few example emails to see how effective or ineffective different designs can be in inviting us, the buyer, to make a purchase. So this first email is going to be from a movie theater. It's a local theater. And you can see it's been formatted to work well on mobile. The menu bar at the top is really clear, and each link is a bar instead of a plain text link. And then that header text is about a size 14, so it's really easy to read from my phone. And I took this as a screenshot from my iPhone. The design is a really simple single column. There's no reformatting happening. And best of all, that Buy Tickets button is really clear and finger-friendly. Overall, this is a really good use of mobile-friendly design. And then thinking back to that example schedule that we had, this is an example of that first email. It's an invitation for a pre-sale, which they're calling priority booking. This is for the Harry Potter play that opens next summer at the Palace Theatre in London. In this case, the theater opted to offer a pre-sale for 2 to 3 days before the tickets went on sale to the general public. And this is mostly because they knew that they were going to have an overwhelming amount of numbers in the general sale, and they wanted to split that up. So all you had to do to get the pre-sale code was register on the theater's website in the weeks leading up to this priority booking. So this email was sent 2 to 3 weeks before the pre-sale started. And again, here we see a single column design with a large logo and the date of the pre-sale priority booking in a nice large font. Since there's actually no call to action in this email, I'd already registered for the pre-booking, priority booking. There's no buy tickets button or call to action. And also take a look at that subject line. It just says priority booking for Harry Potter and the Cursed Child is announced. It's really simple, it's really direct, and it let me know exactly what this email was in the first few words. So this is the second email from our example schedule, the email that went out in the 24 hours before the tickets became available with priority booking. And since there's a clear call to action here, now they actually want me to buy tickets, the Book Now button has been added. It's large and easy to click, and it would have been easy to follow through the purchase process from a mobile device. And take a look at this subject line too. It's also very simple. Just priority booking opens at 11 a.m. So these are really both excellent examples of emails that are intended to reach both desktop and mobile patrons. This next example is taken from a chamber music series in San Francisco. It uses a single column design as well, but the font is a little small. Remember, this is a little blown up. My phone isn't quite that big. And the links are plain text instead of easier to click buttons. Even the buy tickets here gets a bit lost to me. If you can see it there underlined in blue. And maybe as a patron, I might not think that I could purchase these tickets from my phone because the email doesn't really encourage me to. It seems more like it's an informative email. So you can really see how just adding a buy tickets button would have made this email more compelling to me as a mobile user, and I might have been more inclined to follow through on this purchase right after receiving the email. Also take a look at the subject line. It lists the name of the performers, but it doesn't really say anything about the date or about buying tickets. So maybe this venue has tested the subject line with their patrons, and they know that they prefer to see the name of the group performing instead of the date, but maybe not. So just things to consider as you craft your own emails. This, for example, might have been a really good opportunity for an A/B subject line test. So now that we've got through some of that nitty-gritty of what your emails should look and sound like, let's talk about a few of the best ideas and practices for emails that you could be sending to your patrons. So I just want you to think to yourself what emails you send out now and to whom. And maybe you work as the only marketer, or you're a box office manager who sends emails, or maybe you have a whole marketing team at your venue or event. So just think, do you have a regular newsletter? And if so, who does it go to? If you're a larger venue with more events, do you have groups of patrons based on their purchase history so you can send them events they might like? If you're an event that only occurs once annually, like a festival or a fair, how can you increase your email list? Do you have an opt-in on your website so that you can send patrons information throughout the year or as your event approaches? And if so, do you have a campaign strategy for that? So maybe now's a good time to think through your email campaign strategy and come up with a comprehensive plan that works for your venue or event. So another good practice is cross-marketing. And if you don't already cross-market to your patrons, maybe now's a good time to start. If you host multiple types of shows and events at your venue, you have a really easy opportunity to cross-market to patrons who've purchased tickets to a similar show. Sending out an email to patrons who purchased tickets for your comedy, your musical, with an invitation to purchase tickets for another comedian or musical in the future is a really easy way to get those patrons to purchase tickets ahead of time. Your patrons will actually appreciate you putting the event discovery into their hands or offering them an early chance to buy. You could even consider running an email like this with a promotion code or a discount to increase early ticket sales and build loyalty for your venue. And then what about event reminders? Are you making use of the built-in automatic event reminder emails? I know if you're on the TicketForce system, you probably know that you can use this built-in automation to send any type of email before or after your event. You can send a reminder a week before the event or the day of. You can use merge tags, offer discounts on another show if they buy now, let them know about pre-ordering concessions or parking, anything you want. And the email is going to send automatically on the date you specify to anyone who's purchased tickets to that event. So newsletters and event digests are probably the most common email I receive from venues. This can be a great way to highlight your upcoming events to increase late ticket sales, as well as provide a calendar that lists the other events coming up at your venue. If you want to appeal to specific groups of patrons, try creating a separate digest based on your patron demographics. Different shows will appeal to different patrons, and sending them notice of events that you know they'll be interested in is a really great way to increase the probability that they'll purchase tickets, because you know that they already attended a show that was similar. So finally, after you've put in so much work to make sure your email campaign will be effective, don't forget to track it. You can track different promo codes you used and what emails or social networks they're associated with. Find out what links patrons clicked on in most of your emails, what day and time works best for your venue. You can also track your conversion rate by comparing the number of tickets purchased that are associated with a specific campaign to the number of patrons who receive the email. For example, if you sent the email to 200 patrons and 20 patrons purchased tickets, then your conversion rate is 10% from that campaign. This number can be a really easy way to just compare the effectiveness of different campaigns. So hopefully this doesn't sound like too much work, but even taking the time to analyze your current email strategy and make a few tweaks here and there will hopefully result in some more ticket sales for your event or venue. And with that, I'm just going to open up the webinar for questions.
If you have any questions, just feel free to type them into the question panel there on the right-hand side. Okay, we got one. Whitney, you had mentioned the email reminders in the ticketing system. So you can use those before and after is the question.
Yeah, actually that is built in. You can actually set up the reminder to be -1 day or -7 days if you want to, depending on how late after an event you want to set up the email. And it's really convenient. You can actually set up multiple emails in one associated with one performance. And for that, you'll just go to the Marketing tab in a performance, and you'll go to the email reminders and then hit Create Email Message, and you'll notice that you can set up multiple ones in there. So maybe you can use that -1 to use that 24-hour period, thanking them for coming to the show, maybe referencing another similar show or a discount for another show. You could use this in advance, say 7 days or 1 day to reference parking, or if you need to cancel the event. This can be a great way to just send out an alert to everyone who purchased tickets instead of having to pull that list, upload it to an email provider, and then send it out. And there's also, I just want to note, there's also a site-wide email that you can send, and you reach that in the system configuration under Marketing, and then schedule broadcast message. And that will actually allow you to use merge tags so that it will, you can basically write the same email to send out no matter what show or the patron name. You can use all those merge tags. And that's a really good, like, set it and forget it type of email that you can send. Yeah, so that's all built into the TicketForce system.
Awesome, great. We've got another question here. What are your thoughts about monthly e-blasts to patrons?
I would say it depends on how many patrons you have and what type of shows your venue is doing. Maybe if you have a theater and all of your shows are going to be musicals, say, a monthly e-blast could be a really good way to let your patrons know your schedule and what's going on at your venue, because you know that all of those patrons are interested in the same shows. But if you have maybe a theater where you have different acts coming in and you're going to have some country and some jazz and some musicals, maybe what you want to do then is to group those patrons based on the events they've purchased in the past, and then just cross-market similar events rather than sending them a monthly e-blast with events they might not be interested in. Hopefully that covers your question.
What are they, if you do have any suggestions for multi-venue types of organizations? So maybe a theater and a convention center, or multiple theaters kind of underlying under one organization that may just have one campaign software.
Again, it's not a bad idea to do a monthly e-blast depending on the types of shows you're going to be bringing in and how different they're going to be. You basically just want to think about the patron in this case and how many of the events, if you do a monthly e-blast, how many of the events you think will appeal to the majority of your patrons. So maybe if you do decide to do a monthly e-blast, you feature shows that are maybe more appealing to more groups of patrons, and then on a sidebar include a calendar with all of your events, just to try to appeal to the majority of your patron base.
All right, great. Any other questions from any of the attendees? Okay, Whitney, do you have any suggestions for maybe some folks that are, how do you say, just promoter or rental halls to where they're not necessarily, you know, sending out e-blasts all the time in regards to something that they're promoting themselves? Is it a service that, you know, a venue should be offering to their renters or promoters?
I would say that if a venue is already going to be sending out a monthly e-blast, offering space in that e-blast for rented events or promoters to include their event is probably pretty harmless, and will actually in some cases increase ticket sales for that event. As a promoter, obviously you might want to be sending your own emails in that case if the venue does not have a monthly e-blast. But yeah, I'd say that it's perfectly okay to, you know, sell space on your email for ads or other events that are happening at your venue.
All right, and I have one more here, so if you guys have any other questions, feel free to write them down. How much is too much? So what would be too much contact maybe in like a week or like a month?
It just depends on how much new content you can create. Obviously, if you're going to just be sending the same email blast over and over with a digest of your events, and you only have an event once a month, then sending an email more than once a month is going to be a really bad idea because you're going to kind of overload that patron with the same information. Our kind of rule of thumb over here is that as long as you have something good to say or a good piece of content or new shows to announce, there's really not ever too much that you could send, apart from maybe sending every day. Basically, as long as you have something new to share with your patrons and your audience, then they're going to want to hear from you. So yeah, that's kind of my rule of thumb about how much is too much.
Okay, we did get one more as well. Do you suggest having, in addition to the data that you have from your ticketing database, to also have still some sort of email opt-in maybe on your main website and at other locations?
Yeah, it can't hurt, although in your terms and services, it's pretty easy to add in there that you're free to contact that patron once they purchase a ticket, either about that event or related events. But if you want to have an opt-in, maybe for people who haven't ever purchased tickets for your events, maybe they're just thinking about it, or you're a venue that they would like to go to or have heard about, and they just want to add their name to your email list. Yeah, that's totally, I mean, we have an opt-in on our list, on our website too, and yeah, having an opt-in is a really good way. Building an opt-in list of people who want to be contacted by you is a pretty valuable thing to have, because you know that those people are going to want to open and click on things that you send them. Yeah, good question.
That's a great thought, though, like actually, you know, adding it to your terms of use to where they're going to get contacted by some, you know, an organization that they obviously has shown interest in by buying tickets, but they're going to get contacted by, you know, just solely the organization by, you know, related events and events they may be interested in at a place that they like to go.
And as long as you have an unsubscribe in there, if you're going to do that opt-in and you're using a third-party email provider, they're always going to include the unsubscribe button. And so obviously if that patron loses interest, it's really easy for them to unsubscribe. We hope that they don't, but they can.
All right, well, if there's no other questions, you know, Whitney, you can go ahead and wrap it up. I don't have anything coming in.
Nope, that's all. I'd just say if you have any follow-up questions that you think of after the webinar, feel free to email me any of your questions at whitney@ticketforce.com, or you can tweet us a question at our @TicketForce Twitter account.
Awesome.
So that's all. So thanks all for joining. Thanks for joining our webinar today, and we hope you have a great day. And as always, our webinar recordings can be found on our YouTube channel. It's just youtube.com/TicketForce in case you want to share this with a friend or colleague.
And that'll be
Thank
posted
you so much.
later today.
Yeah, that'll be posted later today.